We guess we're ready, apparently. Oh, look where the microphone is. They'll only hear you. No, I'm just kidding. They'll hear me too. Thank you.
There we go.
I think I can be loud enough to be heard from wherever the microphone is. Good morning. Welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow. The Adventures of Liz and Rebecca. Sorry, did I pull that on you too fast?
No, I wasn't
Woo!
paying
Okay,
attention.
before I sit down, okay, again, hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in chilly, but really could be chillier to seeing what it's like in Vermont on my Facebook feed right now, Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz. I'm the minion there.
It is
We're getting snow on Saturday.
22 degrees outside right now. What?
We're getting snow.
Bombshell. Okay.
We're getting snow.
You like snow? I mean, I grew up in New England. I like snow, but not here. Not when it means I can't open my shop. But
I think we'll be fine.
gentle disclaimer, like watch social media if there's snow in our area, because if we can't get in, we might have an online sale. We'll see, but just watch. So before I sit down, it's like if I do this, I have weird little bunches in my sweater. So we are our own worst critics. I blocked my sweater. I'm very, very happy with it. If you go to Instagram or Facebook, you can see pictures of the journey it took in being blocked. It
looks nice.
Yeah,
it all smoothed out.
It smoothed out. Like the cuffs lost a little elasticity, but that happens. I actually didn't smush the cuffs at all. I did a lot of smushing on this because when I laid it out damp, it wanted to grow. It did grow a little, but it wanted to grow a good 2 inches in length, more than that in width. And I did the smushing thing. I was worried more about the length of the sleeves, which are actually I know they look a little long, but that's how they were when I knit it. You cannot solve a problem of something that's already knit too big by blocking. You can solve the problem of when it's damp, it wants to be like, I'm a new size. You can kind of fix that. So the ribbing is lying a lot better. It's not doing quite as much of a bunched thing here, like where I'm not feeling comfortable down here. It flattened out. That it just feels better. I'm gonna sit down now. But
it looks nice.
Thank you very much. I was worried that what I did. Okay, so I measured it. We've gone over this before on the show. I measured it dry in its knitted state, right?
Because you liked how it fit.
Because I liked how it fit. I could have used the measurements from the pattern book. That's the other way to do it, especially if you're making it for someone else. But if it fits the measurements from the pattern book dry, you take your measurements. Then I soaked it. Then I spun it in my washing machine, spin cycle only. It's the heat and agitation that will take something like this and felt it. If you're only agitating, and spinning isn't even agitating, it's just flopping it against the walls. But there's no heat, there's no other stuff involved. And then I laid it out, and because it was damp, it was like, ugh. And if I had just left it like that, if I just laid it out and walked away, this thing would be a dress on me. When I first smushed it, and someone on, I think it was one of our Donnas on Facebook said, "Is smooshing a technical term?" And I said, yes, it is. It is now. I smooshed it. I used my measuring tape and I smooshed it up to be the measurement, close to the length I wanted. I smooshed it in. And then I took all the excess that was bunching and I redistributed it as evenly as possible. Kind of did the little this with my fingers and a little bit of patting and a little bit of scrunching and smooshing and redistributed it all. And I can tell like the difference, like if you give it a chance to fluff back up, it's not guaranteed, but it can happen. So I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick. Whoa. So I have this on my social media page. Like that's the lump that it was when I just onto the blocking mats. It's a little deceptive because I was at a low angle from this picture, but when I started to lay it out, it was like, I'm going to be big. Not that it's not big. I'm a little big. This is what it looked like after I smooshed it. And you may not, well, my cat's in the front, but if I zoom in, there's lots of wrinkles there. Lots and lots of wrinkles. No wrinkles here, right? Oh, that's not the picture. Okay, that's my dinner. It had already dried a little by the evening. I kept flipping it over, and what I did, I pinned the edges because I have a cat who might lie on it and get startled and flip it, you know. But once I'd established that you know, the cat was kind of leaving it alone, it was okay. I used my comb pins more as like marking the boundaries of where I wanted it laid out. So the size I wanted it to fit into, right? So each time I flipped it, like I put pins in the collar, like above right above where I wanted the collar to be, right below where I wanted the cuff to be, on each side of my torso, and at the end of the sleeves. Like I said, I didn't try to squish up the ribbing here. So the ribbing kind of eased out a little bit. I'm not super worried about that. But I put combs at the end of where I wanted the sleeves to be for length, so I wasn't accidentally stretching it out. And every time I flipped it, I want to say I flipped it 3 or 4 times to give the back some air time, to give the front some air time. Each time I flipped it, I made sure it was staying within those combs. And so this was in the morning, and it really had settled a lot, like staying within the same boundaries.
Yeah.
There aren't half as many, if any, wrinkles, because the fibers, as they dried, instead of being like, we're in a new shape, they said, oh yeah, this is the shape we want to be in, and we're going to, you know, they redistributed. The wrinkles kind of eased out as it fluffed up. I actually took it downstairs for morning, my tips and tricks filming, to show sleeves, because I did one on sleeve shaping, and I wanted to show off the decreases that are hidden on the underside of a sleeve. And it was still cool to the touch. It was still wet. So it got a little bit of fluffing, kind of like you fluff rice when it's done.
Yeah.
By me taking it downstairs and then fluffing it and laying it back out again. So that's always kind of the last step. I feel like it's like fluffing rice, is this little like shake out all those wrinkles and everything, and see if it's taking its new shape. So it is not guaranteed that smooshing will help it take on a new shape. Sometimes if it's too, especially if it's too wet, it's really hard, or you have to leave it for like a week. That's why I love putting it in the washing machine,
Spinning out as much water as you can.
Some people,
salad spinner.
I was about to say, some people for shawls and stuff use a salad spinner for the very same effect. If you want it more control, like if you're worried about the washing machine, but this is not super wash, and it survived the washing machine. Like, I don't want to make promises I can't keep, but if you're careful about it and only put it on the spin cycle, it should be okay. I am already too hot in this, but I'm going to keep it on. If I had my mask on top of it.
Oh.
What'd you do?
No, never mind. I thought I'd lost a stitch marker. You know,
like that's the sound of not fun. So that was my adventure of the weekend, other than getting back to knitting all the lovely things that I didn't knit because I was pounding this sucker out. I haven't had my coffee. This is very full right now because I was running late this morning. So what did you do this weekend so that I can drink some coffee?
Well,
so we don't neglect you.
I am like gonna finish my last few rows, but I started a sweater last week, and then on Friday, started a sweater last week because sweater. So I got this much done and decided I didn't like how the floats were working, although off the needles it was just fine.
Live and learn. So we were going to clarify a few things here. Mm-hmm. You started a sweater because you saw it and went ooh, and it's a colorwork sweater.
It's a colorwork sweater
that had how many colors in the
written
pattern?
For 3 colors.
And how many are you using?
5.
Because go big or go home.
So it's written as a gradient, like it's called Twilight. So it's supposed to be the dark going into the light, and you know, it was
And
blacks
you're
grays.
still doing that.
I'm
but-
like, ooh, that's cool. And
but
I
red.
looked at my gradient that I had at home, and
But
it's
red.
4 grays and a red. And I was like, okay. So
you see what happened was
instead of doing 2 colors on most of the rows, I'm using 3 colors on most of the rows.
hold my beer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I took this off, just cut the yarn, and I was like, ooh, I'll save it because it looks cute. I should have bound it off.
And she's
but-
also like, well, how do you do 3 colors? I'm like, I could tell you how I do it for English style knitting with some continental thrown in, but you're a continental knitter, and she figured it out. It's fine. I'm like, you could put 3 colors on your finger and go bloop, 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 and that looks a little, yeah, it'd be fun. So
Here.
that's awesome.
Sweater.
That's awesome. And remember, again, the bottom part of it is actually the top.
Yeah.
When she's done, she'll flip it and wear it and stuff. So I find that fascinating that, well, if you look at her stuff on the needles, it's all bunched together. I wasn't talking about the cool part, which is cool, which is very cool. It's all bunched together. You can see how you would be concerned that your floats might be too tight or too loose or too something. Especially when it's bunched up, it'll look too loose. You were worried they were too tight.
I was worried they were too tight.
And I'm worried on my latest piece that they might be too tight, but I think it's going to block out, and I'll show you all that later. But I find it fascinating that when you hacked it off and took it off the needles, you're like, oh, I think maybe it's fine. I totally understand the impetus or the worry that long floats are gonna, when you pull to regular dimensions, it's gonna suck the stitch in and you won't see it. I find looser is better than tighter. Like there's a few spots at the bottom of these V's where the stitches are really loose, and it kind of bugs me, but I'd rather that than they're pulling so hard with the floats that you have gaps and you have weirdness. So,
It's I don't know. Like I look at my floats and I'm like, oh, they don't look too bad. But like on the front side, I have little bubbles and it bothers me.
Bubbly stuff. Okay. So bubbly stuff in color work. She's heard this before. It's gonna happen. And mostly, unless it's like, you know, mountains on the front side because your floats are just like this big. It'll be okay when you block it. It will. So like this actually was lying really nicely even before I blocked it, and it's even nicer after. There's always some level of puckering, especially when the floats are all going over large spaces. That is going to happen. So don't stress about it. Like I said, unless it's like the rolling hills of Pennsylvania or like, you know, higher.
No, I mean, you know,
if it's just a little bit bubbly, like
horrible, but I don't know.
Then
so I'm doing this. It's worse.
Does it look better?
Yeah.
Than how that one looked on the needles?
By and large.
And the other one that you ripped off the needles looks okay.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. Continue.
It was written for a size 10 needle.
Mm-hmm.
I am doing a 10.5. Yeah.
You had a moment of panic in your eyes there. Like, wait, am I?
Yeah. It was a weird, like the whole sweater's done on a size 10, but she wants you to cast on your neck on a size 4.
Because she wants the neck not super loose.
And then you go back and pick up stitches and do an I-cord.
Structured neckline. We talked about this at length.
So I did this one on a 6, and when I tried it on, it was kind of tight going over my head. Like
I remember that. It was still on the needles.
Yeah.
Could have had something to do with it.
Could
maybe
have,
not.
but you know, I mean, it's still a very tight fitting.
You like
neck.
looser necks.
I like loose necks.
I like this one. This one's in more of my happy place because it's not super loose neck. It could even be a little tighter, but it's, you know.
So
I like comfy necks.
when I
like cozy.
recast on,
Yes.
I recast
look,
on with it.
There's sparkle from your hair that you haven't had in for a while. Okay, sorry, I digress. Squirrel, what?
I cast on an 8.
Oh, that'll be nice.
And
that'll be a U-neck.
Because I don't want to go back and pick up stitches and do an I-cord bind off. I cast on, knit around, did 2 rows of twisted seed stitch, which I don't know if it's a thing, but I did it. So every time I purled, I knit through the back loop. Yeah. So
so each time you knit through the back loop or
purled. I purled through the back loop.
Oh,
So
that's
my
extra tight.
purl
Okay.
stitches are twisted like a twisted rib. And then, but it's seed stitch. So anyway, but I only did 2 rows. Just
My brain
enough
is
to
going, because
mimic
usually
it.
when I do a twisted rib, I only twist the knit stitches, but you can twist both.
No, I didn't twist the knit. I just twisted the
I
purl.
know, which is why my brain did a
Oh.
little like, because you said twisted rib, and that's not what my brain
Oh,
sees as twisted rib. I just had to quiet my brain down, but I still told you.
no,
anyway.
I was probably doing it wrong, but
No,
you know.
there's no wrong for that. There's like generally accepted, but you can do whatever the heck you want. See, okay.
I was not paying attention to which stitches I should be twisting, but I twisted the pearls instead of the knits.
The reason you twisted them though was
Was to
because
make
you
it a
wanted
bit
it tighter.
Yeah.
The reason most people do a twisted rib, like as a rib, and knit the knit stitches into the back, is they like the look of it. It's a tighter knit stitch, but it looks prettier. That's not why you were doing it.
No.
So that's fine.
We had to hold the discussion
Adaptation.
of that it's probably for the structure.
Yes, you're doing it for the structure.
I'm doing it for the structure.
Yes.
So I wanted it tighter so that the
I was
neckline
explaining to you and our viewers
Yes.
why that was okay. I mean,
It's weird.
honestly, do whatever the heck you want.
So I don't know if there's such a thing as a twisted seed stitch, but I did it. So
There is
Sort of.
now.
there is now.
There probably is. I don't know. Who
But
knows?
I only did 1 row knit and then 2 rows of the twisted seed stitch, and then started just because she does a die cord neck. So I didn't want to give it too much of a collar. I just
Mhm.
wanted to keep that, you know.
I like it.
So I did that. And then I only got 1 row of this done, the purples that you really
Oh my
can't-
gosh, they're giant rows though
Oh,
at this
or
point,
purples.
right?
Yeah, I'm only on row 8. Stripe 8.
And it's in the kind of half middle, so it's really hard to show off.
Yeah,
And
I'm almost
besides
done. I
that-
can show it. From the middle of the neck to the edge right now is about a yard long.
Are you still are you still knitting it on 40-inch cables?
Yes.
So you have to like stretch 1/2 out to see
Mhm.
that. You can't just be like, look. You'll see that when you get it off the needles. Because right now it's like, look. So yeah.
And then
Saturday.
shout out to Megan and Rachel. They came by. Rachel had a lesson. And
Mhm.
Megan was like, let's go work on our Echo Point. And I was like, okay. And so I'm working on it and realized that mine looks completely different.
In the middle of my lesson, I get a text from Liz, who's right out there, who says, why do these look different? And I'm like, I don't know.
I picked 2 sibling, or I have
No,
2 sibling patterns. Picked
knew.
one
She knew.
and gave that to Megan. This is the one we're gonna do. Okay. And I pulled up on my iPad the other one without looking at it and started that one and went. So I tried
She
it.
knew.
and
So you started the one that's like Megan's pattern. So they
Uh-huh.
found a pattern and they're trying to do alterations to it to maybe replicate the idea of the Echo Point, which the Echo Point, so you've got yours and I've got mine, and I'm trying to go so slowly on mine. I'm also on short needles. Pretty soon I'm going to need bigger needles, but I'm trying to go so slowly. I am just almost to the end of section 2,
Mhm.
the stripe piece on section 2. But what it does, Echo Point does, is it's got garter on one side and like the right side and the wrong side, because you're knitting over here and you're purling over here to flip it. So on one side, you've got one section being prominent in what we call clean, and on the other side, you have colors kind of intermingled, but still stripes, but like kind of like the echo of the bold side. And then it flips, and then it flips, and then it's really fun. I'm finding my brain is like, no, that's not what you did last time you striped. And I have to tell it, I know it's because it's different this time. But what are you doing to try to give to replicate a little bit of that in crochet? And disclaimer before she starts talking that we do not have a crochet pattern for you to follow. If you want to try to do this with crochet, you have to make stuff up.
So basically for crochet, we're doing pick a triangle shawl pattern.
Mhm.
And we're doing front post and back post double crochets to mimic the clean and the dirty side. Like,
I like it.
if I hold this up,
The red is bolder on one side.
red is
than on the
bolder,
other.
and this is the ribs that stick out with and then on the back side, it's the same.
It's like that. Yeah, it's reversible, which I was having. Oh my gosh, I was having so much trouble this morning trying to photograph this because I'm like, this is the right side. No, wait, this is the right side. No, wait. My brain hurts. So
Basically what I'm going to do is I have my ribs over here and then no ribs over here, and they're on the back side. But after and Megan and I are striping at different points, we're kind of doing our own thing, but using the ribs to mimic the thing. I'm going to switch the ribs to where this side will look like over here.
Yeah.
I'll switch back
that's
and
cool.
forth.
I think that's
so,
really cool.
But yeah, it's just a triangle shawl. I'm using double crochets. She's using double trebles.
She's using double trebles.
Yeah. The pattern was written for double trebles. And I want a big, tighter shawl, so I'm doing doubles. And I'm using fingering weight on an eye hook. And
it's pretty.
It'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of red and dark and broodies, and yay.
So I got into my second. I'm trying to go so slowly so that other people have a chance to shine and finish long before me, and especially the beginners who've never done this before don't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm falling behind, although they could already. I don't know. I'm trying so hard to go slow. But I like that, on this, we have bold and echo and bold and echo. And just a reminder, there's 3 of my colors in here. Next, I'm going to my sea glass. That'll be pretty. And I'm having oatmeal in the center. So all of my colors, even though this is my brightest for the center, all of my colors are fairly muted. It's interesting, the one I picked.
I did the llama lace dark brown, blood moon.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have carbon.
Oh, that's different than the, yeah.
I picked different. Yeah.
No, I'm saying the carbon almost looked like your llama lace.
Yeah.
And it will on camera because the camera's dark.
And then I have Blood Runs Cold by Madeline Tosh to be the next red. And then for my pop, I'm doing Dovestone.
Okay.
So it's that, brighter
I have Pebble Beach
silver,
in here. Okay.
greeny. Anyway.
It's like a mossy, greeny gray.
Yeah.
It's really pretty.
So that's going to be, but it's all, other than that, it's going to be all dark and pretty.
So in terms of our knit along with the Echo Point shawl by Lisa Mutch, Northbound Knitting. I was trying to remember her name. And I'm like, Katie, no, too many names in my brain. You can start at any time. So if you see these, or if you go, like, we're going to try to put a couple of photos at the end of people who are doing it, who gave me permission to share. If you're like, I want to try it, it's not too late. You can try it. And the pattern is 25% off through the end of January with the code Sun Dragon KAL, no spaces, on Ravelry. Get it directly from the designer. You can save 25%. You can get a kit from us of 5 colors of DK weight yarn. You can use your own yarn. You can, use scraps, use what I think full skeins. If you use partial skeins, you just might have to add in more colors. I think it's kind of fun. If you email me pictures and say, hey, I would like you to share this with YouTube, I'll put them at the end. If you can share them on Instagram, we have a whole set of tags on Instagram. If I haven't put that in the description below, I will. Like, let the designer know, because she actually put a couple of people's shawls that they're working on in her stories, which is really fun to be like, yay, celebrate the shawl. There's a Facebook knit along, Sun Dragon knit along page that I put together. It's my first time making a page on my own. kind of fun, kind of weird. I think we're close to 50 people in it at this point, which is really cool. You don't have to be working on the Echo Point to join the knit along page to see what's going on. You just have to answer some questions, which are like, why do you want to be here? And can you be kind to people and supportive? And if those are hard questions, then don't join the group. But and then I set up some guidelines for the group of just basically be respectful and kind and and that shouldn't be hard. If you start sassing on someone or saying, yeah, I would have done this, or yours looks like poop, you will be booted from the group. The group is meant to be, you're looking at me like, what?
Yours looks like poop.
Yours looks like poop. Why would someone say that? Anyway, nobody's looks like poop, okay?
that like, I have seen so many of them.
They all look amazing.
From really, really, really nice yarn to really, really, really somebody gifted you cheap yarn.
And
they
not,
all
right?
look cool.
They
Like
all look cool.
It works on any yarn, any thickness, any.
So like Luann, you can just go in there and cyberstalk people, but try to do it nicely. So you can join the group even if you're not knitting the shawl, just to see what people are doing. But please, if you see a picture you like, put a little heart on it or a thumbs up, and or you'll say something nice. It's really, you'd be surprised how much that can warm someone's heart to know that that you notice them, you know. And maybe give it a shot yourself. You know, the group, I only titled it Sun Dragon Knit Along and not Echo Point Knit Along, because we might try more of these. People are really having fun. I've always been a little nervous of knit alongs because of the rivalry, competition, whatever. And we're having fun, which
we
is
might
great.
have to even throw a crochet along in at some point.
I think we should. The K can stand for, you know, weird
Craft
spelling
along.
of craft. So we're not meaning to exclude crocheters from this at all.
No.
I will take suggestions for patterns, but I may not pick yours. Just know that.
We've had a request for a sock along.
Yeah, Jeff was like, ooh, and because Donna wants to try socks, and he's like, maybe that'll help us try socks. And at first I was like, and then I went, well, maybe,
yeah.
It could be kind of fun to do in the summertime when big heavy knitting like giant shawls is a little cumbersome or like makes people hot just looking at it. So we'll see. We'll hang on to that idea and think about it. But there's a lot of decisions in that, like what type of sock, and you know, I will ponder. So, but join, if you're on Facebook, we encourage you to join this group. A bunch of people joined last night while I was sleeping, so I couldn't admit them until this morning. So just know that I will admit you when I can. I'm not like keeping you dangling. I might be sleeping. So
what?
I don't want to just make it a wide open public group, because I do want to keep some level of support and privacy for the people who are in it, because they are being vulnerable by taking the chance to share their work.
Yeah.
And some people in the group might be like, yeah, sure, no problem, this is fun. And other people might be like, I've never posted a picture of my work online before because I don't know what's going to happen. So we're trying to keep it private, or just, you know, we're trying to a safe space, right? And I feel like I'm gonna sneeze, so if I'm making weird faces, but it might not come because I'm talking about sneezing. So we'll see. So if you join, please be kind to others, and also if you join, take the risk if you feel okay with the vulnerability of sharing your photos, and know that they will not be put on this show or in the newsletter unless you have expressly said, Rebecca, you have my permission to share this. And if you've said that and I still haven't shared it, I have too much on my plate. So yell at me, nudge me and say, dude, I wanted you to share my picture, and I will. Okay. You got it? Where we can hold up half of it? You can hold up half here. I can like,
that's half.
I'm gonna push. See that middle recognizable stuff? Oh my gosh, that's huge.
Yeah, it's a good yard.
We'd have to put it on like 5 stitch holders to stretch it out and show it to people.
Yeah. This is a 40-inch needle. Like,
Where's the other
where's
end?
the other end? it's running away.
Yeah, that's the
There we go.
danger. Let me tell you.
There we go. There's the back side.
There's the dirty side. There's the clean side. Yeah. Oh, that's so pretty.
Like, it's getting huge.
And you're using
So-
almost like you're not every color we have in the Ushia palette, but and some of them that we don't have anymore. Like
Yeah.
yellow, you can't buy more of that now because they discontinued it, which is sad. But yeah.
This is the new purple we got, and the red and the blues.
We just got a lot of our new colors in there.
There'll be a green in there next. So, I'm just randomly
But it's fun.
throwing them in. So,
And you'll have lots of ends to weave it. Oh, by the way, speaking of
Yeah.
ends and stuff, I had the question on the knit along of are you carrying your yarns up the side? So this morning with morning meditation, I am only cutting yarn when it's not being used anymore. So I only have 2 ends of the blue, even though I did stripy rows because I carried it up the side. And I did that on morning meditation. I showed how I twist them around each other. I really let the old color I just finished stay in front, and I pick up the new color from behind, and it twists them every time that happens. And it tends to be pretty clean because this is the side. And on the back, maybe, well, front and back, because it's garter, you might kind of see the end. Excuse me. Woo, my coffee's making me burp. What's up with that? It's not even carbonated. I must be chugging it. It hides pretty well.
Yeah.
If it's only 2 rows, especially, like you could even do it over 4 rows, though. Just twist it every time you come over to it. So, okay. Other things, because now that this guy's done, which I spent almost entirely a week doing nothing but, right? Now that that's done, I went back to other stuff. What? Shocker. This past week, over the weekend, I managed to get through my first skein of
okay. So
mask down. What?
I'm looking at it going, oh, now I see. It's not hot pink.
You thought something was hot pink?
In the pictures you showed
This
me,
stuff?
that looked really bright pink.
Well, because my pictures, like my camera wants to make everything brighter, and I even toning it down.
Man.
It's like a rose pink, right? I ran out of yarn in the middle of a row, and I haven't wound my new skein yet, so I can't stretch like the full length of this out. This is my Rosa Canina, trying it in color changing yarn, which, you know, the cables are almost kind of buried in it because of the color changing. I'm breaking one of my own rules, which is complicated yarn, simple pattern, complicated yarn. This technically fits the definition of a mildly complicated pattern because we have these cables here, any mildly complicated or more than mildly complicated yarn. I'm experimenting. So I don't know if you can see it. There's 1, 2, 3 sections of cables. How she wrote the pattern, and then there's ribbing in between those. And how she wrote the pattern is when you have used 50% of your yarn. So I'm using 3 skeins of this yarn. This is skein 1. Is gonna be huge. Yay! But with every row getting longer, the rows, it's not gonna be this long again 3 times before I'm done because the rows will get wider. I will go through the yarn faster. But when I get halfway through my next skein, she wants you to switch to doing the cabling stuff all the time. So right now it's 20 rows of cabling and a bunch of ribbing, and 20 rows of cabling and a bunch of ribbing. And halfway through my next skein, I get to head into cable. Yay! We'll see how that looks. I left my other 2 skeins of this at home, but they're from different batches of feeder brook, so it's going to be interesting. Like the other skein I have has a lot of these bold colors, and then the last skein, it's a little muddier. It's a little different, and we're going to see how noticeable it is. Again, this is a grand experiment for the shop, basically. I think this pattern would be absolutely gorgeous in Fiber Space.
Oh, yeah.
Vivacious Decay.
And you wanted
I've made a million things in Fiber Space.
in Fiber Space.
Yes, I really did.
I was just like, hey, try something different.
That's why we're good foils for each other, because I would just have a shop full of Fiber Space, which is nice, But then y'all wouldn't know what happens if you take one color of Feederbrook and make something ginormous out of it. So, it's pretty cool. Because a lot of what I've done with Feederbrook is do things like the night shift and intermingling, and that looks cool too. So, so I wanted to wind the next skein and work on that, but I have so many other things on needles. The one thing that morning meditation makes me do
is change up.
And at least spend like 5 minutes on something else. And half of that stuff I left at home. I worked on my room with a view, but that's at home. I want to get that to the fun part, which I'm really close, and then bring it in to show you the fun part. Because it's another Lisa Han pattern. And she has a lot of patterns that start kind of basic. And then once you get far enough, which takes a while, then it kind of explodes and has fun. But you don't do the exploding and having fun part first, which is a plus and minus, right? It's like you can learn the basics of a shawl.
It's like doing a bottom up non-color work sweater.
Yeah. It's kind of like but the fun stuff's coming, I promise. Yeah. And bottom up sweater, hang on to that. So I don't think I showed off what is going on? Okay. My Rebel Squirrels. I was working on this on the plane. I forget if I showed off we've got a bunch of rows of squirrels now, of my little white squirrels, because yay Brevard. And did I show off the Rebel? I might have already showed off the Rebel.
Might have, but it's still cute. So
it's still cute. So they are all, he's right here. They're all facing that way. And then this little guy is facing this way. He's my first Rebel. My next Rebel, I'm going to have to wait a few repeats. I think I'm going to throw in an upside down squirrel. Because it's fun.
That sounds awesome.
And I have I think it's in the bag because it clanks around down here, but I have a stitch marker. It's like a progress keeper, little lobster claw of a chicken that shout out to Mary Lou sent us. And that one, see, I have all of these stitch markers along the top. And because I didn't have a different stitch marker around when I was placing these, the beginning of the round is, I have 2 stitch markers in a row to indicate the beginning of the round, and all the others are singles. But when I throw in a Rebel, I put the progress keeper at the beginning of that repeat. So when I hit it, I go, I got to follow a different chart here. And then, I'm back to the regular charts for the rest of the round. So there's all kinds of ways to try to take some of the heavy lifting off your brain when you're knitting. So that's my Rebel Squirrels. I tried to knit a few rows on a bunch of shawls, but the Rosa Canina was the one with the most fun stuff to show off. So I brought that one in. The other thing I did, since I finished, hang on. Problems off camera. So I took home yarn for 2 sweaters. Oh, and this one's having yarn choking.
When we left for a break.
Yarn barf.
Big barf.
Big, huge. Well, it was choking. I had to save it. I had to Heimlich it. This is because I wound them at home on my winder and Swift at home, which don't play as well together as the ones here at the shop, because I've had them for 20 years. So that they still work is kind of awesome. This was the other, I wanted to do cover sweaters apparently. So the cover of Moon and Turtle, and this one, the cover of the Winter Pompom, I was like, ooh, it's all over color work. It's kind of one of my dreams. I like doing all over color work. And then when I posted about my swatch to test my gauge for this, the pattern writer, because I tag everybody on everything, the pattern writer reached out and said, hey, because I was like, yeah, like when I lock my floats over the long 12-inch, the 12 stitch section, it looks like poop. I'm probably gonna leave really loose floats. And she said, hey, I made a video about this special technique for locking your floats over really long places, and it's
Jacquard.
It's yes, but there's a funky name for it, that Ladderback Jacquard, however you want to pronounce it. She's got a really great video, and I'm forgetting her hand. If you find her handle on Instagram for my Instagram post, that's her name on YouTube. But if you look up like Jacquard or Jacquard float locking, Hers is one of the first 3 or 4 that comes up, and it will look like her pattern, like her little swatch cover photo for the video looks like a little bit of this stuff, which is like checkerboard. It's really cool. So I am about 17 rows into this sweater. Isn't that cool? I love it. I think last week I showed you off the bottom ribbing. Got to get through the bottom ribbing to get to the fun stuff. This is a bottom up sweater. People are like, that looks huge. I don't think it's going to be huge. My gauge could be off, but like on the 40-inch needles, and it's bigger than the 40-inch. I was thinking about
that much bigger.
Yeah. I was thinking about putting this on stitch holders and doing a hula hoop demonstration for y'all, but we don't have much time left. So I think this is going to be fine for me. Like, it looks small right now because it's bunched up on the needles, but like I look deceptively not skinny, but slenderer than I am. If I turn to the side, you can see that I'm a little thick. So this on the front part of me to go all the way around me, there's some girth there. So I don't think this is going to be too big, but I also think people are used to seeing top down sweaters, and seeing one bottom up kind of makes your brain go do flip-flops. This does for me. So this, it's just so cool. I'm using a natural and a navy. I'm really, really enjoying it. And if it's a little big, it's a little roomy. I'm okay with that. This is the Ladderback Jacquard thing. These knit stitches. And speaking of purling through the back loop, that's what you do every time you hit these on the front. But these knit stitches running up the back side, they even out your floats. And like when there's 12 stitches, you've got them twice. And I realized, I think I might have shared this with y'all before. I realized that there's lines in the pattern in here, these colored lines, and I'm like, are they pattern repeats? What are those? If I had taken the time to read the little key chart thing.
Who does that?
It says that's where you want to do your Ladderback Jacquard stuff. See the notes. And I was just like, yay, colorwork sweater, dive in. You know, like,
it's amazing you got through a Papillon.
Okay, moving on. Because I have comebacks, but that's petty. Okay. So I'm really having fun with this. It's really exciting.
It looks so cool.
I had the cat like try to walk across my knitting during morning meditation 2 days ago doing this. And and someone's like, "Ooh, concentration." And honestly, once you get the hang of it, like there's a rhythm and there's a structure to what she's doing. And I do have to pay attention to the chart. But mostly once I get going on it, I can do the rest of the chart. But speaking of like puckeries, right? I was a little worried about because these sections here are a little like if I let it just be natural, they're a little puckery, right? Yeah. I'm thinking blocking is going to help that. So I'm trying not to stress about it. I'm also trying not to pull too tight, but sometimes it's happening because there's a lot of stitches jammed on this thing, which, you know, could mean that this is massive and I'm not aware of it, but I don't think so.
And both of our colorwork sweaters are ultra alpaca.
Well, that's silly, isn't it?
We should really
it's like we planned
branch
it
out.
It's like we planned it, but we didn't. This one is ultra wool in the worsted. We only have ultra wool in the chunky from Barocco, but this is ultra alpaca, not to be confused with ultra wool. This is half alpaca and half wool, which just, it's the same thickness. The stitch definition is not quite as crisp, but it still works. And it's a little fuzzy.
The pattern writer even commented, I think,
like her original swatching for this.
Yeah, and
ideas for this.
She said she loved the little alpaca halo that ultra alpaca has.
It's fun.
Yeah, and
it's a little softer than straight up wool, and yes, it's just nice. And this ladder back technique, I will say, I once again, when I was making some of them disappear at the end of the first 8-row section, should have gone back and rewatched the video because I missed a step. I made assumptions that, oh, I watched the video once, now I got it. But it doesn't look horrible. And now I know. And I'm going to be doing it so much for the entire body of the sweater. It's okay. But it is really cool. The ones that see on the back here, we're hiding the white behind the navy, and then we're hiding the navy behind the white. You really can't see them on the front. It's really cool. Like the way I was doing locking in my floats totally showed and jig jogged my stitches. This doesn't. It's you can see up here. Actually, I've started doing the checkerboard on top of it, and it's really cool. I'm excited to have learned a fun new technique. I may only use it on something that is blocky like this, rather than more patterns like the one up here. This one didn't have super long floats to begin with though. So I'm always finding out something new, which is really cool because we're not experts. We've done a lot, but we're definitely not experts. And there's always room for learning. Like entire life of anybody. They're like, that's another microcosm to macrocosm, like lessons you can learn from knitting. You're always learning things. So,
always.
So it's not like I'm done. I'm an expert knitter. You can all go away now. No, there's always learning happening.
I had to go to your tips and tricks. Yes. Night before last to make sure I was locking my floats correctly. And oddly enough, I wasn't. But
that's okay though.
I looked at the 2 videos because you have locking 1 and locking 2.
It depends on which float's being locked in which hand.
And I went, and
I don't know if I'm doing them right. That's
I have to watch 50 minutes worth of video to find this out. And then I went, oh wait, I can fast forward.
Yeah, but then you might miss something and complain about it. It happens.
That's not a thing.
Not really concerned.
No, I just wanted to watch you do it, and so I could do that. And
see, that's the whole point of the videos I make. I draw stuff and then I do it. Is that really 15 minutes long, or it's the 2 videos combined?
It's the 2 videos combined.
I draw it and then I do it. And for some people, the drawings are helpful, and for some people, the drawings are like, and they skip it, and that's okay. I don't really have markers set up for where different sections start. You kind of have to, scrub through and find it, but that's okay. For some people, the drawings are enough. They don't want to see me do it. I don't know.
I listened to you talk through the first one, and then I was like, I'm just going to go watch it.
Well, and see, locking floats, if you're doing the locking float method, depending on which hand is doing it, you wrap it different ways, or else it just doesn't work.
Well, I figured I like the locking it, holding it in the left hand, because that's my non-primary colors.
Well, and sometimes it locks better in one direction. So I will flip which way I'm holding colors just so I can lock it easier, which doesn't work with the whole like have the contrast yarn in your left hand theory, or the on the left.
I continental knit, so I'm not ever sure which way I'm supposed to hold and I'm doing 3 colors. So
and that too. And on the sleeves of my golden fern, they look different if you put them side by side. And I think it's because I held the contrast in different hands, which kind of proves the point.
But you can't remember which hand you held which.
Well, but here's the thing. Speaking of this, like we're out of time, but I have to say this. The lady who did the video for this, she is a continental knitter, and she does the holding both colors on her left hand continental knitting. And she keeps the color the contrast that she wants to pop on the left, like of where her so it's not just which hand, it's being on the left, period. So it kind of comes from underneath, I think, is the idea. So she was like picking, but she had it on so there's more than just which hand you hold it in. It's like I'm still learning. But what I found with this, the technique to do it when you're locking your floats and you're doing the Jacquard thing, you have to bring both yarns to the front and do your thing, and then bring them both to the back. So I am not knitting this holding one strand in either hand. I'm holding both strands because I'm naturally an English style knitter. I'm holding both strands in my right hand because it's just easier to do this than to do, I'm holding them like this, and then I'm moving them to the front, and then I'm putting them to the back and stretching them out again. I'm just going back and forth, and then I'm doing a flippy thing, which is what I used to do before I did 2 hands. So, but I'm still having an over and an under thing happening. And with this, you don't have to have one hand being the dominant or the contrast or like to the left, because they both are doing equal amounts of color work. So that's kind of hard.
This is my second color work. project. Well, the
So you're
second
still
one I'm
learning. It's
fully
okay.
invested in.
Mhm.
So,
Oh, there's a big difference there. Please
I
note
think
the difference.
I think I have
Second
some color
project
work.
period. Second project I actually
I
care
think I
about.
have some color work at home languishing in a pile, you know, on
And then
needles.
there's your dream of color work cables.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
and shout out to Carol. She found something with cables and color work, but Liz really wants to climb the mountain of cables that are color worked. Like both of
Busy
them.
yarn, busy pattern.
Okay, we have to go. So join us for knit night tonight, 7 to 9 p.m. on Zoom with the shop phone number.
828-877-3550.
Show off your Echo Point or see other people's Echo Points or whatever you want to bring to knit night, craft night, crochet night, call it what you will. And tomorrow we will be advertising new things to put on sale. It's so hard to get back in the rhythm of all this, but we will have the virtual shopping channel tomorrow. And then we will have Dear Becky and Lizzie on Thursday. We already have one question, I believe.
We do. We have a card.
We have a physical card. That's so cool.
It came less than a half hour after we.
So we have saved it for this week. So write us questions. You can email
Liz@sundragonartandfiber.com.
or you can send us a real card. Dear Becky and Lizzie, Sun Dragon Art and Fiber, 35 South Broad Street, Brevard, North Carolina, 28712. And I had friends visiting last week. They're like, do you take relationship questions or just knitting and crochet questions? I'm like, more than knitting and crochet. I should not be giving out relationship advice. No way, shape, and form.
We kind of do knitting, crochet, and yarn.
Yeah, yarn in general. Like weaving, please don't ask me because I will be like, huh? I've done like 2 projects on a rigid heddle loom. I am not qualified. But yes, but we can answer some general questions about like yarn and fiber and things like that. Find out things we didn't even think we knew. We will always have the disclaimer that we are speaking from our experience, which may not be everybody's experience. We've already had someone comment on last Thursdays about other heels and things. So check out the comments on our videos. You can learn a lot. So we love you. We miss you. Sometimes we see you. And that's fantastic. So be safe out there. We're going to put our masks on. Where did mine? Oh, there it went. It fell on the floor. I got it. And open up the shop. No one is banging on the door yet, but you never know.
Like, subscribe, ring the bell, Patreon, all the fun stuff.
Yes, we have this like, I'm not sure where our subscription levels are at because one, like I can look at different, like the page before I go into my homepage on Studio says 685, which is awesome. That's 15 people away from a sale, people. Then I go into my homepage and it says 688. The public face might still be saying 685.
I still see 685.
Which is weird because I have one thing that's telling me 688, which is only 12 people away from a sale. So if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing because you may be, if not getting yourself a sale, getting a lot of other people who also will love you without even knowing you a sale. So yes, please consider subscribing. There is no obligation and it helps everybody else out, including yourself. So yeah, but at least ring the bell. Well, the ring the bell is for alerts. That's not what I meant to say. That's if you subscribe. I think.
Yeah,
I'm still learning about YouTube. At least give us a thumbs up, write a comment, do things to encourage other people to discover us. So, and we got to go. It's 10:05. Bye. Bye. And mask don't really work together.
Hat.